seeing in a person as well. And I hope this series for starting from today for 4 Sundays, I hope it will be some help, benefit. At least that is the hope. At least that is the intentions. And so, yeah. And as usual, I like to start with trying to generate a good intention, motivations. So before that, we'll try to quiet our mind, calm our mind by watching the breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to think and contemplate, may our act of coming together here and listening, reflecting, contemplating, may it all become cause and conditions for our mind to become more awakened, more enlightened. May it become cause and condition to increase and improve our loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and wisdom. And may it become cause and condition to actualize and attain fully awakened state, so we can be greatest help and benefit to all sentient beings in most meaningful way. Okay, so what we have kind of discussed, I had a little bit of discussions with the Venerable Lindy, and I think we're going to be doing the talk for 45 minutes, and then we'll have a 5 minutes break to get a tea, whatever. Then I think we will have some 15-20 minute guided meditations, and then maybe 15-20 minutes of questions, answer, or discussions. So that is how it's going to be for all the weekends, or 4 of those sessions. Okay. And from that, today's session is mindfulness. And I think mindfulness has become a kind of interesting subject and words nowadays, how people use that words, I think, but I think, especially, but I'm not going to talk so much from a secular point of view on mindfulness. Of course, I'm going to talk more from the point of view of the Buddhism. Of course, mindfulness can be presented and taken care practice from many different point of view. So first of all, the teaching on mindfulness is, the Buddha taught so many different teachings and practice and method to transform our mind, because it is our mind that is the very root and source of our own happiness. And also it is our own mind that is also very root and source of our unhappiness. So, and when our mind is undisciplined, unsubdued, then it creates a lot of pain, suffering to oneself and to others. On the other hand, when we are able to transform that mind, transform that untransformed mind, discipline undisciplined mind, subdue that unsubdued mind, then we will be able to find more inner peace, inner joy, inner happiness. And so as a means, as a method, as a way to transform our mind, subdue our mind, discipline our mind, Buddha taught many different teachings, many different practices. And one of those teaching and practice method is the mindfulness. So, and especially, the way mindfulness was taught from the Buddhist point of view is that Buddha said, all our sufferings come through our own mind, and which is those afflictive emotions, those delusions. And those afflictive emotions, delusions arises from some of the ignorance, some of the fundamental ignorance, some of the main ignorance. And especially, Buddha described about 4 types of ignorance. One, even though this samsaric body is impure, but due to our ignorance, we grasp it as a pure. And because of that grasping as a pure, then, we have attachment to it. And then, whenever we see there is some kind of obstacles towards that, to gain that, to fulfill that attachment, and whenever we see there is some kind of obstacle, then we start to have aversions and anger, And so that is one fundamental, one ignorance is holding or apprehending or grasping this samsaric impure body to be a pure. And the other one is, even though our samsaric experience are actually in the nature of suffering, but due to our ignorance, we hold and apprehend it as to be a happiness, And because of that, therefore, again, we get attached to that happiness, and we have aversion to the opposite of that, the sufferings. And then due to that aversion and attachments, then we experience a lot of pain and sufferings. So holding this samsaric feeling, which is in the nature of suffering, but we regard it as a happiness. That is one of the ignorance. The other ignorance is, even though our consciousness is impermanent, ever-changing, moment by moment, but again, due to our ignorance, we apprehend as unchanging, kind of permanent. And due to that apprehending and grasping of permanent, again, different delusion, afflictive emotion arises. And due to that, again, we experience a lot of suffering and pain. And then most fundamental ignorance is, even though, there's no inherent existing self, but then our ignorance apprehend and hold as inherent existing self. And due to grasping and holding that inherent existing self, then, other delusions such as attachments, anger arises. Due to attachment and anger, many other negative emotions arises, through attachment, jealousy, greediness, never being satisfied, unsatisfied mind, and through anger, um, resentment, grudges, hatred, ill will feeling, those arises. And due to all those kind of different state of negative emotions, then we suffer. We suffer. Not only we suffer, then we also inflict. We also create pain, cause pain and suffering to others as well. So in order to overcome those four fundamental ignorance, Buddha taught the mindfulness. Sometimes it is called the establishment of full mindfulness. And there are sutras, at least 5 different sutras, extensive sutras, middle sutras, very short sutras on those mindfulness practice to overcome those fundamental ignorance, which are the very root of all the afflictive emotions. So that is how the mindfulness, it seems in Tibet, they haven't been able to actually translate all of those sutras. They have been able to translate only one of those sutras from those 5 different sutras. So in the past, in Tibet, they didn't have so much access to all the different sutras there was on that mindfulness. But of course, nowadays, they have also translated, also in Tibetan as well. But in the old collections, there was only one sutra on that. Anyway, so that is kind of, so in terms of dealing with those fundamental, in order to overcome the fundamental ignorance of, holding or grasping this samsaric impure body as a pure, to overcome that, then Buddha taught the mindfulness of body, the mindfulness on body. So through being mindful of our nature of body, by meditating on our nature of body, and there are many different meditation on that, different meditation on that mindfulness. And through that, then we overcome, we develop awareness of that, this samsaric body is not as pure and attractive as it appears to our attachments, especially when you scan your body, kind of from looking, what is beneath your skull, the brain, what brain look like, what is in the brain, each of those parts, and you go scan whole your body from top to the toe, and looking from inside, what is under the skin, what is under the flesh, what is under that. So you just kind of scan, and through that scanning, you become more and more aware of what this body is really made of. And actually, when you scan that, we are carrying all the garbage. If it was outside, we will bomb it. It's just that it's hidden under the skin. The very most, like our kaka, when you see outside, you probably bomb it. We feel it is something undesirable. If someone didn't flush the toilet for a few days, if you go there, how would you feel? But actually, that is what we are carrying in our stomach. After you eat something, if you throw it, vomit it, it will be so undesirable, disgusting. But that is what we are carrying inside. Once we have started to, the food, once we have started to chew it and kind of eat it, then that is what it is. And so when you look that, scan that, and then especially like when you see some animals, on the road, and when they have accident, and when you see inside, it's kind of, you can't even look, it's better hard to even just being able to look at this. So if you look each part of our body, then it is not as desirable as we feel at the moment. And thereby we have so much strong attachment to it. So that is, that is kind of the mindfulness, one of the mind, of course, as I mentioned, and the Buddha mentioned many different meditations on mindfulness of the body. And that is one of meditation that, you scan it and look through all your part of the body from top to down, inside, everything inside, outside. And through that, then we develop more awareness of what our body is made of, what our body is, or others' body is made of, other body. So through that, the idea is so that we don't have so much attachment, because we feel so much desirable by seeing that. So that it is not to look down on badly on our body or others' body, but it's just to be more aware of that, so that we don't have that very strong clinging and attachment to that by seeing absolutely desirable, when it's not absolutely desirable, if we really look. And so that is one of the meditations, and of course, okay. And also Buddha taught different meditations according to different individuals, some who have more stronger delusion, we all have more stronger delusions. Some of us have more problem with anger. Some of us might have more problem with attachment. Some of us might have more problem with ignorance, different emotions. And so again, according to that different, then Buddha taught different meditation for those who have, more stronger problem with attachments. Then again, these meditations, the scanning of the bodies and looking inside, outside, all of that is one of them. Then of course, also Buddha said, imagine your own bodies, others' bodies, like when you are dead, in the cemeteries, especially when it's exposed outside. How does it look like first week, second week, first day, second day, third day, fourth day, first week, second week? And when you see that, and by seeing that, being aware of that, and then knowing our body is no different from that. Our body is not different. Everyone's body is no different from that. And through that, again, it helps us to have less attachment to that. And that is why, I heard like in some Thailand monastery, they have many pictures of dead body of first week, second week, third week. So it is to help us to have that kind of meditations, so anyway, that is one of the, again, uh, and then visualizing as a skeleton, visualizing as your body as a skeleton, because that is what it is. The core is the skeleton. On top of that, all skeleton, the bones. Then of course, then many things are added. Our, flesh, muscles, and nerves, and then skins, and all of that. So again, visualizing that, yourself as skeleton, and then, expanding that skeleton, feeling the whole world, expanding it that way, and then again kind of withdrawing again in all, and even that has some different meditations. So in order to do that in terms of attachments to body, and then though it is good, so that is the meditation, mindfulness meditation regarding that. And then, in terms of those who have, a lot of thoughts, too much thoughts, mindfulness on breathing, mindfulness on breathing helps. Watching your breath as you inhale and exhale, as you inhale and exhale. So when we are able to be more mindful of that, and when we do have a good meditation, then all different thoughts and concepts started to kind of dissolve. And when all these thoughts dissolve, also all our afflicting emotions also dissolve, because afflicting emotions are thoughts. They are thoughts. So it is a practice to kind of and then for for those who have a stronger ignorance, then meditation, mindfulness meditation on dependent arising is taught. Mindfulness dependent arising, for those who have stronger problem with the anger, then mindfulness meditation on compassion is taught. So anyway, so that is one. So first, mindfulness meditation on the body. And so not only that, then also Buddha's explaining, not only you see the body, that kind of scanning that in that way and undesirable and so, but also you meditate on the impermanent nature of the body. Then you also mindful meditation on the emptiness nature of the body as well. So when we talk about mindfulness, it is much more broader. You see, sometimes when you talk about mindfulness, it is all about watching the breath. That is how the concept, we have this concept. Mindfulness means it's all about watching the breath to quiet your mind and make you peaceful, calm. It's much more rich than that, what the Buddha taught. It's much more rich, it's much more profound than that, And then that is the first mindfulness on the body. Second mindfulness is the mindfulness on feeling. The mindfulness on feeling. So our body, physical form of body, and then second is mindfulness on the feeling. And as I mentioned, it is an antidote towards holding and grasping the samsaric experience or feeling as a happiness. Is antidote towards that. So when we, as we watch our, first of all, maybe I wanted to clear a little bit, because we are talking about the samsaric experience, pleasure, feeling being as nature of suffering. I think suffering is a very kind of mistaken word. It doesn't convey the whole that what Buddha actually says, but because there is a lack of word for that, whether in Tibetan is dungal, in Sanskrit is dukkha, but in English, suffering, pain, but it's only one small part of what it covers in that dukkha or dungal, It also means dissatisfied. In English, I don't know whether when you say suffering, it covers the being dissatisfied. I don't think that covers it. So being dissatisfied, being ever changing all the time, so it doesn't last, is part of that. I don't in English word when you say suffering, it covers that. It also means, like it is being under the power or control of something else, and so again, in English, when you say pain and suffering, I don't think it really covers. So I think sometimes we have problem with wording, translation as well. But so anyway, we're talking about the sufferings. So all the samsaric experience that we have, what we call pleasure, sensory pleasure, or sometimes even, mental kind of peaceful, joyful that we might find, if we really check them with mindfulness, awareness, if we just try to, each of those joy, happiness, of course, not to talk about the painful experience, painful feelings, painful emotions, they are suffering. We recognize that easily. But even those so-called, pleasant, experience in our life, especially those sense pleasures and also mental pleasures, if we watch them, with the mindfulness awareness, then, most of those feelings, emotions, many of them, after some time, they transform into something painful, suffering. First, there is some kind of pleasantness, and then slowly, sometimes it becomes miserable. Okay? At the very beginning, when I eat, there's pleasure, but after, if I eat too much, then it becomes miserable. When it's cold, I stay in the sun, it gives me warm, and then after some time, if you stay, then it becomes miserable. When you don't see family, you want to be close to them, excited. Once you are there and you have been together many, and you wish that you have some break. It becomes too much. You wish that you have some break. So if you watch, it kind of many of them transform and change into the kind of miserable. That shows it is not, true or inherently happiness. And that is what it means by suffering. It has that potential to transform into something miserable. And even some of them, even they don't transform into miserable, but that whatever pleasure that we're feeling does not last. It could last for, if it lasts for 1 hour, that's wonderful. Most of the time, it doesn't last. Actually, it actually lasts only 1 second, 1 moment. And sometimes there is continuity of that 1 moment we feel like we have for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day. But actually, it is just a moment of different moment of those feelings. But actually, each of those moments are constantly, arising and kind of disintegrating, arising, disintegrating, arising. So each moment. So we see, so even those doesn't turn into miserable immediately or in long term, but still, they do not last so much, So that is not true lasting happiness. That show is not true lasting happiness, Those feelings, those kind of pleasure comes, goes, and it gives us a lot of, disappointment, unsatisfactions, because we want to, when we have pleasant feeling, we want to have permanently, we want to have that all the time. But reality, it does not. So we are unhappy. That feeling is there 1 moment and it's gone. And so therefore, that is why it's not true happiness, but actually it's a nature of sufferings. And then, if we analyze again with our mindfulness awareness, again, also we realize, as we watch, each of those feelings are, almost like uncontrollable. We have no control over that. Due to certain circumstances, due to certain condition, external, internal, those feeling comes and goes. We have no total control over that. We wish we want to have total control, But at this point, at the moment, when we are still under the control of the delusions, the karma, then, it is that delusion karma that seems to kind of, roll our feelings, and so and that itself, not having total freedom, not total control of itself, that itself is in the nature of suffering. So through that kind of different meditations, practice, mindfulness and awareness, again, it's just kind of being aware of that. And once you are aware, then trying to hold that awareness and being mindful of that and holding on that, so that is in relation to the second, the mindfulness of feeling. And third one, the mindfulness consciousness. And as I mentioned before, it is the antidote towards the grasping of permanently, I think we have a kind of grasping permanent to most of the object, innately, because like when I see the tree that I saw yesterday, I feel, oh, it's the same tree, when it is not, When I see a tree that was there 10 years ago, I still see that, oh, it's the same tree, when it is not tree, same. But that shows that we are holding that as a kind of permanent, because, even though it's not same, but we still have that. So we have that kind of grasping of sense of permanent to all the phenomena, especially to our consciousness. Because body, we can see easy changes in our body. The changes we see, as we get older, it is easy to see changes. And also with the plant, sometimes it's easy to see. But the mind is much more difficult to see the changes like that we see in external objects. And so we have more, especially the mind, follow from one throughout whole your life and one life to another life, then there's even more kind of, because of that, there is even more kind of grasping more strongly to permanent. And as an antidote to it, that's the Buddha taught mindfulness of impermanent of consciousness. So impermanent of consciousness. So again, when we watch, our different emotions, different feelings, different thoughts, different, whatever those different state of mind, whether it's a, positive mind, whether it's negative mind, whatever different state of mind we have, if we really pay attention, if we really pay, look with our wisdom eye or awareness, then we see, each moment, all these different thoughts, different emotions, different state of mind, they are constantly changing. They are constantly changing. The nature is that. And most time we are not aware of that because we haven't really paid attention to that, Even though sometimes we feel like we have that same feeling for 10 minutes or same, but if you really watch, it's not the same thing. One feeling comes one moment, and then it is a continuity of different similar feeling that arises. And that sees, again, a similar feeling arises, but it's just like the breath. Each breath you take is different. Each breath you take in is different. Each breath you breathe out is different. But sometimes when you think of breath, it seems like it's just one continuous breath. But actually, it's the same way consciousness. If you really watch it, moment by moment, it's constantly changing. And when we understand that changing nature of that mind, that awareness, so that once you have that awareness, then we try to hold that awareness with the mindfulness. And that become antidote towards that fundamental ignorance, that grasp, that is holding and grasping or apprehending the consciousness to be permanent. And then fourthly, the phenomena, yeah, that is where the phenomena, I think I might have, I don't know what I said before. It is the fourth one is to grasp, to hold and grasp phenomena as a inherently existing self. Okay, so as an antidote towards that, so when we say the phenomena, so it is all other phenomena that is not the first three aggregates, the form aggregate, the feeling aggregates, and consciousness aggregate, and all the rest of other aggregates or all other phenomena are included in that. And so again, even though all of those phenomena are not truly inherently existing, but our ignorance, due to our imprint from the past, there's appearance of inherently existing objects or phenomena. And not only there's appearance of inherently truly existing object, then our mind believe that appearance, and through that belief in that appearance, then we kind of it deceives us, and so that lead to all the other delusions. And so as an antidote towards that, then the Buddha taught the selflessness of phenomena, the selflessness of all persons and all phenomena, how everything do not exist inherently or truly, again, if you watch, if it is something in the existence, then it will be permanent. But as we have been kind of watching before with mindfulness and awareness, whether it's the body, whether it's the feeling, whether it's the consciousness, they all are in nature of impermanent. They never, and all other other conditioned phenomena, they are constantly ever changing, ever transforming. That clearly shows those are not inherent existence, because there is a change, because they change because certain cause and condition change. Because there is change in cause and conditions, so the situation, the object change. And that shows the situation, the experience, whatever result is dependent on many cause and conditions. Because when there is change in cause and condition, then that changes. And something that is depending on cause and conditions or other factors cannot be inherently independently existence. And so therefore, when we pay enough attention with that kind of awareness, then we realize they are not truly inherently existence. And so once you have that understanding, then we try to keep that awareness without losing that awareness, mindful of being that awareness. Okay? So I think when we talk about mindfulness, generally, according to the different scriptures, according to some of the Bhavasika school of thought in Buddhism, such as the way they describe mindfulness is like this. They regard mindfulness as being when you are trying to cut the wood, you have to put your axe 1 time, 2 times, and when there is a little bit of opening, then you put something inside. So what you call inside, you put some stick or whatever to put inside. So then it is easy for you to cut it, with the X.
A wedge.
What?
A wedge.
Winch.
W-E.
Thank you, winch. So they say the mindfulness is like winch. Okay, and you have first that holding the object, not losing the object. Okay, holding the object, and from that, then you develop awareness, wisdom. And according to the Mahayana schools, first you have the wisdom or awareness. Once you have that awareness or wisdom through reflection, contemplation, analysis, then you try to hold that awareness without losing that awareness, that wisdom. So slightly different way of presenting, in that way. And so when that is presented, even maybe meditation is slightly different, First you have the awareness, the wisdom. And then once you have that wisdom awareness, then you try to not to lose that wisdom awareness, you keep that fully without losing that, Whereas in other cases, first you have the mindfulness being, and then that mindfulness lead to the awareness, the wisdom, So, but I don't think there is any contradictions, It is just how it is presented in some way, So when we talk of mindfulness, we are talking, I think, two things. One, what we call tempa, which is a mindful mind. Sometimes it is translated as memory, recollections. I don't know whether sometimes different translator translate sometimes memory, sometimes recollection, sometimes mindful mind. And then there is awareness. Sometimes it is translated as introspections, introspections or vigilant, or so it's the practice of combinations of that mindfulness introspections. So in terms of the recollection mind, or whether we call recollection mind, or whether we call it mindfulness, but it's not forgetting the object of the practice or meditations, and it's functioning not to get distracted, so your mind it hold on your objects, so it doesn't get distracted, and then it is kind of concentrated on the objects, and then vigilant is kind of investigating, whether your mind is still concentrated on the object or not, whether there is any kind of obstacles arising or not, so time to time investigating. So that's a different mind. But I think when we practice in practical, then you apply both of them together. And so anyway, so I think that is more kind of little bit of theoretical explanations of the mindfulness according to Buddhism. Okay. So I think maybe a kind of short break, 5-minute break, and then yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
We take a short break.
So I think we'll be starting little meditations on that. And again, in terms of describing, it seems very a lot. And but I think in terms of at the moment, I think I will keep it more simplified. We do the more simplified mindfulness meditations. And of course, as I mentioned, even the very simplified one, watching your breath, scanning your bodies, and watching and being mindful and aware of sensations you have as when you breathe in and out, whether it's the nostril or watching and being aware of whatever sensation that is happening in our body. Sometimes we have heat, sometimes we have feeling cold, sometimes we might feel heavy in our body, sometimes we might feel lightness in our body, so whatever feeling sensation that is happening on our body, being aware, mindful of that, mindful and then being aware of that. So it's to know better ourselves, our feelings, emotions, sensations. And then not only that, then not only those sensations, bodily sensations, also thoughts, emotion that could arise, different thought, different emotions, different feeling that could arise each moment, One moment we think, oh, my meditation's going very well. Another moment, oh, I'm hopeless, or I'm distracted, my mind is not there. So different thoughts, or suddenly, something pop out from what happened during the day from your work, out of nowhere, it just pop up, or from nowhere, suddenly you started to think about tomorrow, planning about tomorrow. So all your different thoughts, different emotions, different feeling that could arise anytime, any moment. And again, we don't try to fight with them in this meditation with the mindfulness. We don't try to push whether it's unpleasant sensation, whether it's unpleasant feeling, whether it's a negative emotions. We don't try to push it away. We just simply watch it, be mindful of this, and be aware of that. And if something positive emotions arises, good feeling arises, also, we don't try to hold on that. We don't try to cling and hold on that. We just simply try to be watching, mindful, and aware of that. So we are not trying to kind of fix the situations, whether it's external or internal, but simply just watching, being mindful, and then through that watching and mindful, then it leads you to awareness. And when we have that awareness, then the way we respond will be different. The way we respond to any kind of situation will be different when you have that awareness than when we respond without that awareness. So I think that is where, even though we don't have much time, but I think that is how we are going to more kind of simplify, instead of trying to develop the wisdom awareness and trying to hold on that, because that will, but we do that way, okay, more. So again, just try to relax yourself, So try to feel as much relaxed as possible. Even you can't feel relaxed, that is also okay. Don't struggle to make you feel relaxed. If you can, try to do that. If you cannot, so be it. So then try to quiet your mind, calm your mind, by watching the breath mindfully. Then try to generate good intention motivations by thinking, may these meditations help me and others to improve my mindfulness practice and others' mindfulness practice, so that we can have develop shamatha and wisdom awareness. And may it become cause and condition, more awakening, more enlightened. And to achieve fully enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then you try to bring your mind to the breath. As you breathe in, watch it, be mindful and being aware you are breathing in. As you breathe out, being aware you are breathing out. Then watch, be mindful and aware of the sensations on your nostril as you breathe in and out. Whatever sensation you might have. And if you can't feel any sensation, that is okay too. Be aware that you don't have any sensations. You feel a little bit breeze as you breathe in. Be aware of that. Or if you feel any kind of heat, coldness, simply just watch it. Be mindful and aware. And then try to watch and be mindful and aware whatever different sensations that might be happening in our body. Maybe you might feel warmness or cold, or stiffness in your body, or feeling relaxed in your body. Feeling maybe your shoulders are too stretched out, or whatever, feeling cold, hot, tired. So just try to watch, be mindful and aware of whatever happening, physical sensation from the top to the toe. We're not trying to change sensations. Whatever sensation happens, simply just watch, be mindful and aware. That's all. Or your body, your heart might be beating, or you might be feeling the running of the blood in your body. Whatever that happens, just simply just be aware. And notice how each of those breath, each of those sensations, bodily feelings, how they are ever changing. Do not last. How each moment is different. And if you are unable to be aware of that, also is fine. Doesn't matter. And also be mindful, watchful, and be aware if any emotions, feelings, thoughts arises. And if it does not arise, that is also fine. If any thoughts, emotions, feeling arises, we don't need to hold on that feeling. Neither we need to try to fight with that feeling, thoughts, emotions. Leave it as it is. But simply just be mindful, watchful, and aware what it was happening. And if you don't have any feeling, thoughts, emotion arising, that is even better. You don't have to, you just try to be watchful, mindful of your sensation in your body and the breath, and be aware of that. So we don't have to create new thoughts, feeling, emotions. Only if it arises, just being aware. And if any feelings, thoughts, emotions, thoughts, concept arises, be mindful, watchful, and be aware and recognize how each moment is changing. Or each moment is not exactly the same. One moment it is there, one moment is not there. One moment it feels strong, another moment it feels less strong. Then try to bring your attention back to the breath. Then we can dedicate all the virtues that we have created in the past, present, future for oneself and all sentient beings to actualize the realization of mindfulness. The wisdom in Bodhicitta mind. And to be most benefit to each and every sentient being. And for all sentient beings, including oneself, to achieve fully enlightenment. And maybe you can slowly open eyes. Yeah. So I think we try to do too many things in one short period, But when you are doing meditations, first you could just focus on the breath, then you can, for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Then after that, you can just focus on the sensations, and then slowly you can focus on the different feeling, thought, emotion that could arise. So then we will have more opportunity to really be much more aware of each of that. At the moment, we are kind of moving a little fast because of that short period. We are trying to do many of them in one moment. So, but when we are doing by ourselves, so also, of course, I didn't use some prayers at the very beginning. When we do ourselves, then at the very beginning, after the motivation, you do the refuge, bodhicitta, visualization and refuge bodhicitta. And then you can, if possible, you can do 7 limb practice, short, and then and then you can make a request to that guru and Buddha whom you have visualized during the refuge time, request them for the blessings to have success in this meditation practice. You can visualize light nectar coming and cleansing all the negativity, especially the obstacles to have the realization of mindfulness. And then you visualize receiving all the blessings, especially the blessing of realization of mindfulness. And then you do the meditation, the actual meditations. So that is especially in, according to Vajrayana, if we can do that, then it becomes more better when you have time and we can apply all of that. Okay, so, but of course today, we don't have so much time, so we just kind of, but when you do on yourself, so that if we can apply that, that will be even better. So then, I'm open for any questions, any kind of thoughts, whether about the subject itself, whether about the meditations or others, whatever. If you have any questions, if you have anything to thoughts, something to discuss, something to share, most welcome. So the door is open now. So either you can unmute yourself, ask, or you can send a question as well. whatever is better.
Geshe, it's Trent here. I just wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
I work in a hospital, and sometimes with my patients, I use mindfulness to help them through difficult times or illness. I'm wondering, and I hope this isn't too personal, how you used mindfulness to deal with your illness earlier in the year with the COVID. Did mindfulness practice help you through that illness?
I think, in my cases, my COVID was not as severe. It was moderate, but of course, COVID and pneumonia. So, I apply some other practice in my situations. Of course, sometimes you apply different practice, different meditation, and different time in different situations, and different individuals have their different practice, and so for me, I apply some of to deal with whatever fear, worry that I might have because of the COVID. I was applying the kind of karma from the karmic point of view. For me, that kind of helped a little bit. Sometimes you started to think and worry, maybe, your life might be coming to end, and so, but in my cases, I thought about the karma, and so I just had to remind myself, if my karma is to die because of this COVID, there's nothing I can do about it, and I don't even have to have COVID, I can be just staying at home, and or I might be just walking on the street, something could happen, and if my karma has not arises for me to leave this body and at this time, I think I should be okay, Of course, I have to try to do everything that I need to do, whatever medication that I was given, whatever advice I was given to do to that. Except and then there's no point of waiting or of thinking about that. So with that, it kind of helped to quiet my all busy mind, just kind of through that understanding, kind of accepting that is whatever is meant to happen, that is meant to happen according to my karma. So that helped my mind to be too busy in thinking too much about all of that. So that was helpful for me individually. And then, also I try to do some Tonglen practice, as much as possible, because I realize, I'm one of those fortunate one, in so many different ways. My case was not severe like some others who are struggling with the breathing and struggling with all the machines on their head and struggle with that. I didn't have that struggles. So many people who have lost their life, and so many people who have lost their dear ones. So many people who didn't have access to the medicine that or hospital that I had. So many people who didn't have family and friends to care about them and have concern about them. I had so many people, friends, family all over the world who have been extremely kind, caring, their prayers, encouragement, all of that, So through that understanding and being aware of that, I was doing some kind of wishing everyone who is going through that COVID, for them to be free from all COVID. By me experiencing that, may no one have to experience that. May I be able to experience on behalf of them, so whatever that I'm experiencing, through that may they be able to cure. They don't have to experience, and so dedicating. So that was kind of my main kind of practice in that moment, at that time. So, but definitely, for someone who is relying on some other practice such as mindfulness in their life, I think being mindful can be very helpful, especially if their practice of mindful is strong. If their mindful practice is not strong, I don't know how. Still, it will help a little bit, but when you are in that active situation, when you have so much strong fear, so much strong panic, anxiety, I think it might not be so easy. But someone who have been practicing and who have kind of strong practice, then just kind of watching your breath, watching your emotions, whatever that is going through, whether it's the fear, whether it's the anxiety, whether it's the worry, whether it's frustrations, whether it's anger, whether it's whatever, whether it's blaming, whether it's being harsh others, yourself, whatever that feeling it might arise, is if through mindfulness, if we learn to kind of watch, simply be aware and not to hold on that. If you don't hold on that, that emotion does not last long. It's a secondary, But normally, we just kind of hold on those emotions that keep that emotion alive for a long time, and we experience that pain, whatever emotion we're going. But if we just learn to observe, be mindful, and we don't try to fight with it, we don't try to hold on that, and then the emotion comes and goes, but it does not last long. So in that way, it helped them, because emotion comes, but it goes very quickly. It comes and goes very quickly. So then it doesn't have a strong impact. The problem with us is we hold on that, and then we hold on for minutes, hours, days, and then it becomes much more heavier and much more intense and much more distractive. So yeah, so that is all kind of I can kind of share. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Any others?
Geshe, we have Nicola has put a question in the chat. Did you want to unmute Nicola and ask that question now?
Maybe I can read the.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Geshe Sherab, we often request in dedication before meditation for all the realization on the path. What are some of the realization? Are there those kindness, compassion, for example? Yes, I think when we talk all the realizations, there is all the different level of realization on the lumbering path. In lumbering, and when we talk about path, 5 path, 10 bhumis, so all the realization that we get on 5 path, 10 bhumis, and all of them, if we kind of summarize, is all the realization that is in lumbering, beginning from the guru devotion to the realization, no more learning. So within that realization, there's a realization of non-attachment or renunciations. There's a realization of love, compassion, or non-anger. And there's a realization of wisdom or non-ignorance, and then of course within the compassion and bodhicitta and wisdom realizing the emptiness, and of course many other wisdom realizing impermanent, wisdom realizing the nature of samsara, the wisdom realizing the nature of impure as impurity, and all of that, and different wisdom, but especially the wisdom realizing emptiness. So, and even with that, there is a wisdom realizing emptiness with a concept, the wisdom realizing emptiness without concept directly, And even within the wisdom realizing directly, then within that, there are wisdom on the path of seeing, path of meditation. Within that, there are many kind of, as your wisdom get more and more refined, better and better. And so all these kind of realizations. So we include, when we say all the realizations, all of that. Yeah. So in Lamrim, they talk about, all the realization of lower scope, all the realization of middle scope, all the realization of higher scope, basically we can kind of contain in all the realization within that today. So, yeah. So, any others questions, please? Or if you have anything to say about the practice, meditations, the class, most welcome.
Oops. It's been a wonderful class, Geshe. I would
Thank
like to
you.
say that. I'm just wondering also, Geshe, for the meditation, if we're going to, set ourselves up to use the mindfulness that you've guided us through, and then putting in the preliminary practices as well, how long would you recommend that session to go for us?
It depends on individuals. Again, if you have more time, 20 minutes, half hour might be good. Half hour, 20 minutes, half hour. If you don't have so much time, then 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. One of the things I always repeat and say is that sometimes it's not how long it is the continuity that you do. You have certain discipline to do the practice every day. If you do every day, then practice become more and more easier because you become more and more familiar with that, and it requires less and less effort. And as it requires less effort, you started to enjoy more. When it requires kind of effort, then then we don't enjoy as much. And then if you don't enjoy it, then it is not so inspiring to do the meditation every day. And so I think I feel that we need to have certain level of discipline, even though it's short, but we have that continuity, no matter how busy we are, no matter where we are, to continue to do whatever practice we are doing, whatever form of practice, whatever meditation, whatever form of, I think continuity is very important. And I find that even with study, that is the same thing. I used to find that same when I'm studying in monasteries. If I lose continuity, then it is hard to inspire again. But when I don't lose continuity and I've been continuously doing that, then it is easier, and it's just like you just call kind of natural. But when I lose that continuity for whatever reason, maybe sometimes you have been sick, so you haven't studied for a while, you haven't gone to the class for a while, you haven't been to the pujas, and then it requires a lot of effort to push yourself to go to the puja, to go to the class, to studies. So it's, at least that's my experience, whether it's our study, practice, whatever, continuity seems to be kind of one of the important and crucial thing. At least that is how I find myself. I don't know whether that is the experience of everyone, but that seems to be definitely of my experience. Yeah. So then I guess maybe we'll do the dedications, okay? So due to all the positive karma virtues we have created in time, may His Holiness Dalai Lama, Gyaltsy Lama Sopa Rinpoche have long, healthy life, all their project and wishes be fulfilled. May we always be guided and under the care of them until we achieve enlightenment. May we always please them by applying their advice and teaching into our practice. And may all the sickness, physical, emotional, mental, due to the COVID and other sickness, may all the sickness, pandemic, and the cause of the pandemic and the sickness be immediately pacified. May everyone, the world, be free from all this pandemic as quick as possible. And may everyone who have lost their life, wherever they are, may they be free from all the fears, suffering, cause of suffering. May they all have perfect human rebirth, meet the Dharma, actualize the Dharma, and achieve enlightenment. And may all sentient beings who have obstacles, whatever their obstacles are, may all the obstacles and cause of obstacles be immediately pacified. And may all sentient beings be able to actualize and fully develop pure non-attachment or renunciations, both Siddha and wisdom realizing emptiness, as soon as possible. And through realization of those internal qualities, may they achieve fully enlightenment as quick as possible for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yawadi Nududa Lama Sangye Yone Dawati Yamale Sala Kweva Sanjo Sanjo Rinpoche Mage Pana Yawa Nyamba Meva Konle Kondo Kewa. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
you.
Wonderful to see you.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Venerable Lindy.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Geshe-la.
Thank you, everybody. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you again soon.
No, thank you, Venerable Lindy.
Thank you, everybody.
Good to
Thank you,
see you.
Venerable.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Lindy.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you
Take
next
care.
week.
See you next Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.